there we are. We are live. Live now. Hello, YouTube. Woohoo! Live again. Culture Clash.
Okay, just sent it to you.
There we go.
We will be with everybody in just a few minutes, just getting some pre-show prep done. We go live a few minutes early just so we can make sure the streams are working and everything
This
like
is
that.
true. I must tweet. Tweet, tweet, tweet. This is Culture Clash. Almost, Kyle. Almost.
Almost. Okay. One more thing to do.
Let's news.
Almost ready.
Yep.
What time is it? I got 4:29. Oop, I gotta turn that down. There we go. Kyle looks so serious.
Because Kyle's trying to type. Okay, I think it's about that time.
I was going to look at my fantasy football stuff. Oh, well.
Why? You just know you're going to lose anyway.
Possibly. Very true.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is officially 7:30, so welcome to Culture Clash Live here on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. Wish I could
We
say
got Nathaniel. He's lurking.
Yep. I wish I could say I was in a happy mood, but Kevin. I'm not really into a whole bunch of conversation. Can we just do this thing?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Let's do this thing. This is the Culture Clash. Welcome to Culture Clash 183. Kevin, this is a special edition of Culture Clash. We're here to remember a king. We have, of course, the latest fandom news and reviews here. We've got a little bio stream and unsee it. We got a few pieces of news, but the big thing here is we're going to take our final segment, which we usually do for something fun, and remember Chadwick Boseman, who died suddenly and tragically over the weekend. Kevin, in fact, Friday night, we just got done doing our Bill and Ted watch party and both looked down on Facebook and were in utter shock.
We were literally just finished our Bill and Ted live YouTube watch party. Yeah. And then I think I got up for a second or something. And then you said, Chadwick Boseman just died. I was like, what? And come to find out, since 2016, he's been battling colon cancer, and he's been quiet about it, and it caught up with him.
Yeah. Again, we put out a bunch of invitations for people to come join us in the chat and watch the show. If you have any thoughts on the Chadwick during the show, drop a line in the chat and let us know. We'll share it on the air. But before we get started with anything, Mr. Reitzel, would you care this week to tell the good people where they can find not only this great show, but all the shows on the Fandom Podcast Network?
I will, but I want to say, even though we've lost Chadwick, we'll be giving him a proper, tribute today. We can still make this show fun, Kyle, and we got some fun topics to talk about. So, so I got definitely a skip it for my stream and unsee it or unsee it. So I
might know.
I'll tease that later on. But yes, you can find, first of all, if you're listening to this or watching this, we are live on YouTube. So as always, we'd love to get more YouTube subscribers. Please head on over to YouTube and search Fandom Podcast Network and just click that subscribe button so we can get our numbers up and you can be notified when we go live, as we are right now. So you can find all of our audio podcast, of course, under our Fandom Podcast Network umbrella, and that is at fpnet.podbean.com. We, of course, are on that Podbean app. Fandom Podcast Network is on pretty much almost all podcast catchers right now. Kyle, what new stuff are we at right now? I can't remember them all.
Okay, well, obviously we're on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're also on Tuned In, which is tied in with Amazon, which is a premium podcast music service. And then, of course, we're on just regular Amazon Music as well now. So we got one more in the hopper. I'm still waiting on word. They like to take their sweet time. As soon as I know, everybody else here will know. But yes, we are all over the place, including on Facebook, Mr. Reitzel.
This is true. By the way, I want to say hi to my Scottish buddy, Mr. Robert McGregor. He says Wakanda forever. So good to thank you for getting there.
Wakanda forever.
And I apologize for that horrible Scottish accent.
Yeah, Sean Connery's going to be coming to your door here shortly to fix that.
No, Robert McGregor and Stevie McLeod will hunt me down. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Also, as I mentioned, we are on Facebook. Please go over there and give us a like there. You can also email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com, and also on Instagram and Twitter at Fandom Podcast Network. My name is Kevin. I am on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_Phoenix. Kyle, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at AKyleW and on Instagram at AKyleFandom.
Very cool. Now, as we mentioned, there's a couple of ways to support us. First and foremost, please head on over to YouTube. Give us a subscribe there, support us there. We're recording this live now and on YouTube live there. So we're gonna have some more fun with that. We got some exclusive content too. We will be sharing, just like we recently did on Friday with our Bill and Ted watch party, which was a lot of fun. We watched that together, did some commentary. That is up there right now. So if you are gonna get around to watching Bill and Ted and you want to hear what a couple of us knuckleheads think of the movie, check it out. We also do a little after show reaction. We'll be touching on that a little bit later as well. Also, head on over to TeePublic. You can support us there by searching our Fandom Podcast Network store there. You can get some great Fandom Podcast Network gear. Shout out to Jennifer. She got our End Zone t-shirt, which I thought was very cool. Kyle's got one right now, the FPNet t-shirt, Fandom Podcast Network. You can get Culture Clash, Blood Kings, all of our most of our shows are up there right now, and we're working on others, so support us there by purchasing a shirt there. Also, head on over to Apple Podcasts and iTunes reviews. We would love a rated review. Of course, we love 5-star reviews, but we love feedback in general. So Kyle, you went somewhere, which was, remember like years ago, maybe even more recently, you would see pictures on the internet of like old Blockbusters, and they were kind of like, there's like stuff was growing in front of it, and it was slowly dying away.
Yep.
You kind of went to a place like that, something that's been dying away, but now might be coming back to life.
Yeah, well, first off, though, a quick shout out because Lethal Mullet himself is in the chat room, Mr. Adam.
Yeah,
O'Brien.
Adam's in there. Yes.
So shout out, of course, the host of our great Lethal Mullet 80s action film podcast. He's been doing some great work over there. And of course, I know he's very excited, though. I don't know. It hasn't dropped yet. I don't believe it exists. Something about a Dune trailer. Yeah. I keep getting the promise it's going to drop. I haven't seen it yet. So where's the spice, Adam? Where's the spice?
But yeah, we need that Dune trailer now.
Yeah. Yes, I did happen to venture out to this thing called a movie theater, Mr. Reitzel.
A movie theater? Oh, how was it? Was it glorious? Tell me.
I'm a little worried about him right now, ladies and gentlemen. It was empty. I can tell you
empty?
that.
Yeah,
there was not a lot of people. I went and saw New Mutants, which we will discuss a little later in the show. But the theater experience itself, it was a Regal Cinema, the Oakmont 8, which is maybe about 10 minutes from where I live. Really nice theater. No real huge theaters in it, but it's a nice remodeled theater. Has the big cushy seats everywhere. So a couple of things from my experience. One, they had the 6-foot rule markings everywhere within lanes. The box office was actually closed. They either wanted you to buy the ticket on the app and come in with a digital ticket, or go up to the concession counter and buy your ticket there. Concession prices definitely have gone up. That was noticed real quick.
You say like drinks were $10 and popcorn.
Drinks and popcorn are like $10 each for larges. Yeah. You could tell they were just trying to get their footing. Trying to figure out their system.
The staff was a little out of practice, is what you meant.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I think they were doing the best they could. Now, I went early in the day. I went about to a 4:00 showing.
Did you choose did you buy your ticket ahead of time or up at the
I did a little fandango, bought my ticket ahead of time. One of the things I noticed once you buy your group of tickets, like my roommate went with me, so there was 2 of us, so we bought 2 tickets. They block off the next 2 seats on either side of you.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So for as far as crowd control goes, now we saw, it was me and my roommate, and then probably in the theater maybe 6 other people at most.
Gotcha.
There was a group of 4, looked like a parent and a couple of kids and a couple other people to go see New Mutants, but it was very empty. And even coming out of the theater, I went to a 4:00 show, so we were probably out by about 6:20 by the time you got through trailers and everything like that. and the theater was still fairly empty. They thought they were going to see some pickup in business in the later shows, but so
Right,
I don't know
right.
what happened there. But I didn't feel real great about going to a later show at this point. I kind of wanted to go in, experience it, see what they were doing, see
Understood.
what I felt comfortable with, and I did feel comfortable with the experience. I have every intent to go make a little bit farther travel this weekend and go see Tenet up on the IMAX theater. There's a theater that's about 40 minutes away from me. It has an IMAX Dolby Digital theater. It's open. It's an AMC theater. I'm
Nice.
going to check that out for Tenet. But
Is this where they're supposed to have this elusive Dune trailer?
that's the rumor. We'll see.
Are you gonna do the episode 1/Wing Commander routine? Are you just gonna pay your ticket to see Tenet, watch the Dune thing, and then walk out?
We'll see. From what I've heard, I might fall asleep in the middle of Tenet. So, but the chairs are comfy. So,
Okay.
But the best part about it was, and whether the movie was good or you liked the movie, being in that movie theater and really 2 hours of nothing else existing. You weren't thinking about COVID. You weren't thinking about anything else going on. It was nice to get lost in that movie theater experience again.
Right.
You just, it's like nothing else matters. You're just locked in on the screen and that's it. And that's the difference between going to a movie theater and watching a movie at home.
Gotcha.
So it was good to do. I'm glad to see theaters start opening. Hopefully everybody stays smart. The theater was a mask requirement theater. The only time you could have your mask off was if you were eating or taking a drink, and they did have people walking up and down the aisles every so often checking. So
Gotcha. Well, I don't know if our theaters are going to be opening up this weekend. Don't know.
I read an article where 70% of the theaters across the country are expected to be open in time for the Tenet opening.
We had nail salons and barbershops open up, or at least you could go back inside and do it. So hopefully we'll see. I don't know, but with Labor Day weekend coming, there's going to be a lot of they're closing all the beaches and stuff. They want to avoid excessive beach crowds, which is weird because everyone shows up on non-holidays and it's crowded anyway. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know when I'm going to get in the theater again. I'll let you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Kevin, are you feeling it? We got a few things we need to talk about here.
Let's news.
Let's news.
By the way, Adam, for some reason, wants to see the Dune trailer more than Tenet. He didn't like Tenet.
Well, we'll get to Tenet when we can see Tenet. Just because he lives someplace that gets Tenet before we get Tenet. If he thinks we're just going to talk about Tenet, yeah, whatever. Sorry, Adam. You can wait till the rest of that.
Whether we're going to like Tenet or not, that's a good attraction right there. Knowing that a big name trailer is in front of a movie that is supposed to save the movie theater.
Well, if you remember, the Dune trailer was actually supposed to be before the anniversary showings of Inception.
Yeah, that's right. And that's been pushed back, is it? I don't know.
I think Dune's going to end up getting pushed back because I don't think the
No, I'm talking about the Tenet. I'm sorry, the Inception stuff. No,
I don't even know if that's going to happen at this point. But
yeah. So.
Well, let's kick off a little news, and we got some names we haven't heard in a little bit since they kind of fell out of the Star Wars universe, and that is David Benioff and Weiss. And they have a new
Game of Thrones guys.
Yeah, the Game of Thrones guys. They have a new Netflix project based off the Chinese science fiction, apparently a very popular series called The Three Body Problem. This is I wish I could get into a proper explanation of this because this is going to be very sciencey.
Can I read that one paragraph off of this series that you provided on Wikipedia?
Yeah, I just let me before you. I really wish Haley was here.
So Kyle, what was the name of the author?
The author is Liu Cixin or Cixin.
Cixin, yeah, I don't know how you pronounce that, but apparently there's several books here, and the series portrays an alternate history where in the first book, The Earth is awaiting an invasion from the closest star system, which is in the universe consists of 3 solar-type stars orbiting each other in an unstable 3-body problem, with a single Earth-like planet unhappily being passed among them and suffering extreme heat and cold, as well as the repeated destruction of its intelligent civilizations. So that's the kind of basic of the plot here. And this is going to be a very expensive and ambitious project, apparently.
Well, Netflix has been looking for some major things to do on the science fiction front. That's been no secret as far as that goes, because they just canceled the series Altered Carbon, which I'm not happy about in the slightest. But they are looking for some major science fiction things to have. I think they're looking for their own franchise, and I think they're kind of hoping that this might turn into that. I don't know. But Benioff and Weiss, whether you agree with it or not, left people with some bad taste in their mouth after the end of Game of Thrones. And Kevin, we need to,
but I mean, we can't judge their work on the last season, because they made a wonderful run of writing and producing this wonderful Game of Thrones series. So,
I agree. I'm just saying they did. The last season left a little bit of bad aftertaste in their mouth. And Kevin, I got to bring this up to you because you talk about a little bad aftertaste. One of the main producer on this, Kevin, is your good friend Rian Johnson.
Yes, I met him once. Yeah.
That's probably about all the comments we're going to get out of Kevin about Rian Johnson right now.
By the way, real quick, can I just mention something? There's a lot of buzz right now on Netflix with Cobra Kai, because it's found a new audience and it's becoming the #1 streaming show on Netflix, and everyone's right. It's funny too, because everyone right now is marathoning it, and it's interesting. It's really cool to see the excitement behind this show, and also the excitement for the 3rd season, which we're going to get next year in 2021. And it's funny too, because in my Facebook memories, Dragon Con is happening this weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm getting a lot of those, and I have that picture that came up that I took of with the Cobra Kai cast, with Johnny Lawrence and Kreese and Daniel, the actors, and it was so much fun. And it's nice that this show is basically found a new life right now.
Okay. Might I say one of the first podcasts to be on the Cobra Kai bandwagon, right?
Yeah. Yeah, us. We did shows about it. Yeah, this is when Norman was with us still, you know. When we were following it there on good old YouTube. So yeah.
Well, I am legitimately very happy that Cobra Kai is on Netflix now and getting a much wider audience and becoming a massive hit. It's the #1 stream thing on Netflix over the weekend. So.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Last week, Kevin, I talked about the CBS All Access version of The Stand that's coming out, and that it was announced for December. Well, we got our first kind of brief trailer about this. It's like mainly focusing on Whoopi Goldberg's character, but I'm looking forward to this, Kevin. I'm a fan of this story. I'm curious to see what CBS's All Access is going to do behind the paywall to really be able to get this story a lot closer to the book than what the original miniseries was.
I don't remember the original miniseries. I didn't read the book. It looks intriguing. I'll be curious to check it out. But I'm not. I can't say I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Gary Sinise was in the original miniseries.
I do remember that. Yes.
Now, Fox is kind of going to play a little bit on the popularity of Lower Decks, Kevin, because they are working on an animated X-Files series with X-Files creator Chris Carter. This series is tentatively to be called The X-Files Albuquerque. The description of this is, this series will follow an office of agents so ridiculous and insane that not even Mulder and Scully would bother with them. Considering they once investigated killer robot cockroaches, that says a lot. As you might guess, this means that as of now, David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson will not be involved. The plot is written by Rocky Russo and Jeremy Sosenko, who will executive produce with Carter and Gabe Rotter. Bento Box will be the animation studio. This makes sense. They're, if anybody's doing this, it's Fox. They like their animated series, and the X-Files is still a staple for them to this day.
So obviously it's going to be a humorous take of this if it's called X-Files Albuquerque,
Albuquerque. Yeah.
right? So I got a question about that. I was just watching Paul. Remember Paul?
Oh yeah, I love Paul.
Okay. So Seth Rogen played the voice of Paul on that, right?
Yes.
He was the alien that Nick Frost and help me out, Kyle. Simon Pegg, who are a bunch of nerds that just did Comic-Con, and then they're going on this nerd road trip through Area 51. And what's interesting about that is, remember those two bumbling FBI agents that were under the command of what was it? Jason. I'm drawing names here. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name.
Was it Jason Reitzman?
No, Jason from Ozark.
Oh, Jason Bateman. You're right.
Yeah,
yes.
Jason Bateman. But it was very funny because those two guys I could see totally cast as those two characters. It was Jason Bateman. Sigourney Weaver was the main villain here.
Yeah.
Who was the other one you had here? Oh gosh, I can't remember all of them. But those two guys, I think one of the guys was on the TV show Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the kind of dorky police officer. Oh, and who was what's his name that was on Barry?
Oh, Bill Hader.
Bill Hader. Yeah, he was the other one. Cast those guys, or let them do the voices. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be fun. So
Joe Lo Trujillo and then Bill Hader. Yeah, those are the guys. Those guys are funny.
Well, let's hit with the last news piece we kind of have this week as far as just the regular news goes.
I don't know what's going on, Kyle.
I'm confused too.
I need you to clarify this for me.
There's all kinds of fun stuff going on with live action Mulan and Disney Plus, apparently. So of course Disney had announced a couple months ago now, Kevin, that they were going to put Mulan direct to Disney Plus for a $30 like special fee kind of thing, and you owned Mulan as long as you had your Disney Plus subscription, yada yada yada. Now, apparently, some stuff the mouse didn't want to get out got out on an ad, because there has been an ad cited that states that Mulan will be available to everybody on Disney Plus come December 4th. Now, needless to say, this ad has been pulled down rather rapidly by Disney, and they're saying, no, that's not happening. Except today, at some point, international ads for Mulan on Disney Plus came out, and it said the same thing that the American ad said, coming to Disney Plus for no charge in December. So basically, if you're playing by the ad, you're basically paying $30 to start watching Mulan now instead of a few months later in December.
I understand why people might be getting confused and upset by this, but what's the difference of, hear me out here, going to the movie, watching a movie, spending whatever money you're doing that, then it comes home on physical media, you watch it on Blu-ray, whatever, or digital, then it finally hits a streaming, or as in this case, Disney Plus thing where you can actually watch it with whatever streaming package that you have. They just want to get that revenue as if it was in the theaters now. If you want to watch it now, kids are going to be wanting to watch it. Adults are going to watch it. You pay for that privilege now. And then it keeps subscribers, because if you have Disney Plus, that's the only way that you can watch this, because you pay the extra $30, you get to keep it, and you get to watch it before everyone else that doesn't want to pay for it and has to wait till December 4th. Okay.
So I have two problems with this on a personal level. One, I had a problem with Disney throwing out $30 for Mulan. I thought we had a fairly established thing with $24.99, $20.
It's Disney though. All Disney videos were more expensive. Come on, we talked about that. The big puffy VHS tapes that came out in the the late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Those were always like $5 more. When you go to the DVD sections that still exist, they're always a little bit. They're always like at $29.99 instead of $19 and $24.99.
I understand. I understand that, but again, this is something that I guess it's a choice too of what people's budgets are right now, as well too. Here's the argument a lot of people have. I'm already paying for the service. Why do I need to pay this additional fee for this service?
Because you want to be able to watch it now.
I just don't know. I think for a lot of people, I don't know if Mulan is a not high enough selling point type of movie that now that people know that it's going to be there on December 4th, which is only a couple months away at this
Yeah,
point.
some people may wait, but some people are like, no, I want to see it now.
Well, the other thing with theaters kind of reopening, and I think Mulan is still going to hit theaters somewhat
If
too.
someone's got some kids and they go, I want to sit these kids down and watch it, and if they want to watch it over and over again, so yeah, I mean, you know, it is a little confusing, but I just want to, one thing I want to mention in this article here is how can I purchase Mulan on Disney Plus? It says if you're purchasing Mulan on September 4th, you'll see a button to buy the movie on the Mulan page. If you're on disneyplus.com, you'll have the option to pay with the card that you have on file or with a different form of payment.
Yeah. So I guess it's confusing. And I can tell you this, somebody who at Disney advertising lost their job over this one.
Probably.
Disney there was no way Disney wanted it out that it was going to be available without paying the $30 in December at this point.
Speaking of VHS, can I switch to a different topic real quick?
Are you going to talk about Mandy?
Yes.
I'll be back later, people.
Well, Jennifer in the chat reminded me about VHS and how her significant other Dave still has a VHS player and play stuff. And I love the fact that Mandy is being released. This is the Nicolas Cage horror flick, which I highly recommend, by the way. I'm not a big horror guy, but it was very fascinating. And he had one of the best edged weapons I've ever seen in a film, is being released on VHS. I love it.
Okay. And how much of America still has a VHS player besides you and Jennifer's husband?
Just head on down to your thrift store. You'll find a working one. Trust me, I've got about 8 of them.
Yeah, Kevin can spare. Kevin's going to actually start a business where he's going to rent out his VHS players.
Because if one goes, boom, throw it out, put in the other one. So yeah, there you go.
I don't expect this to be like vinyl, Kevin. I'm
keep
just
this
saying.
in mind too. If you have a non-working VCR that doesn't play tapes and it eats it, at least it's a good clock.
Until the power goes out and then you can't figure out how to fix the flashing 12 again.
I want to bring one more point up. Robert McGregor mentioned in the chat here, and I actually was going to mention this and I completely forgot. He said that we're buying Mulan on Disney Plus to support the movie. It doesn't matter to me. I think that's an important point because this is the reason why I actually ended up, and if you go, I don't know if I said it in the Bill and Ted preview thing, but
yeah, we talked about you double dipping. We did.
I ended up buying Bill and Ted twice. I bought it on Vudu because I got a Vudu credit, and I wanted to watch it through my Apple TV, and it wouldn't do it. So I just bought it on Apple iTunes, and I was like, you know what? I want to support this film. I want my revenue to go to this film that was going to be in the theater. So that's a good point. That's one thing to consider.
Of course, if Kevin would have just bought it on iTunes in the first place, because nobody uses Vudu anymore.
Well, it does connect to iTunes, just so you know.
Yep. Okay, on that note, we have seen a few things. I'm going to get a master remix of this here soon. Ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about it. But it's time to, once again, buy it, stream it, or unsee it. And we are going to kick off with Bill and Ted Face the Music. And as Kevin said, we're not going to go super deep here on this because go to those of you who are watching on YouTube and those of you who might be listening to this podcast version of this episode, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and join Kevin and I as we provide most excellent commentary on Bill and Ted Face the Music and get our in-depth thoughts on the latest addition to the Bill and Ted story. But Kevin, the question comes down here is, are we buying it? Obviously, you bought it twice before, but sight unseen, streaming it or unseeing it now that we've actually seen it. So, Kevin, what were your initial?
Definitely buy it. It was one of those that I felt proud to actually purchase it, even twice, because I didn't have to. I could have just watched it on Vudu, but I was just like, I was on the couch going, you know what? iTunes, boom, $24.99. There you go. And I didn't think twice about it because, like Robert said, I wanted to support this film. I was really excited about this film, and I wanted to give it some love, not just financially, but as well as watch it. And you and I, before we did our live watch together and on YouTube, we did watch it by ourselves. What's funny is it dropped, and I got up early for work. I ended up watching like the first 10 minutes around, I think, like 2:30 in the morning, just because I had to see if, first of all, if I got it, and it's just like, oh yeah. And I left it off at a good point to come back to after I got off work. But I was on a bunch of Bill and Ted Facebook pages and stuff, and there was people that found room to criticize it, and bring it down like they always do. But the majority of people, I think, really did enjoy this film, especially with the performances of the actresses that played their daughters, the tribute to George Carlin, and just the other wonderful performances in that movie. And I like the twist that we got at the end.
Yes, this movie is a great wrap up, I think, as far as this particular story arc for Bill and Ted. Now, I do think when you see the movie, you will conceive the possibilities of something in the future in the Bill and Ted universe. Let me put it that way without trying to get too spoilerific here.
Yeah, and it was great. It was great to see Death return, played by William Sadler. It was great, but I think one of the, other than the daughters that were Samara Weaving and Bridget Lundy Payne. I think that maybe the robot played by Anthony Kerrigan, otherwise known as Dennis Caleb McCoy, stole a lot of scenes.
Well, didn't you know that Dennis Caleb McCoy starting next week will be the new co-host of Culture Clash?
Because he's a robot.
He's gonna be our background dancer.
Is he gonna be a background? I just don't want him to laser me. I just don't want him to laser me. That's all.
Well, he thought, but you told him you wanted to go hang with Death. I'm just saying.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it. What about you, Kyle?
I found it a lot of fun. I found it as a movie that we really needed right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We really needed a good feel-good film, and I just want to say it felt these, Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves just jumped right back into their Bill and Ted's, and I bought it right away. I was just like, okay, this feels comfortable. They're doing a good job. Let's see how the rest of the people do. And I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't go in with huge expectations. I just went in wanting to just have a fun movie, and that's exactly what I got. It actually exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, I would say it exceeded my expectations too. It was a lot of fun. It had a lot of the same feel and a lot of the same magic to it. It's the only difference would be is I see Ted Wick now instead of Ted Logan.
He shaved his beard.
It doesn't matter. It's still John Wick. But no, I'm going to call Bill and Ted Face the Music a buy it for certain. So that's going to lead into my movie theater experience. Now, I am an avid comic book fan, especially of the X-Men. I'm a huge fan of the X-Men, especially 80s and 90s X-Men, which made me very excited for the movie that took 2+ years to get into the theater because it would come out. Then it got delayed because of the Fox sale to Disney.
Did it get delayed too because the first trailer sucked and people weren't having this horror themed trailer of mutants?
There was some of that, but
because wasn't there some reshoots or something like that?
But every movie has reshoots. But there's like a lot of question of why didn't this come out on streaming? What happened? Why is it part of the reason is because when Disney bought Fox, part of the contract was this movie must be released in theaters. That was part of the contract with this. So the movie I'm talking about, of course, is The New Mutants. Supposed to be out 2 years ago, finally out now. I think a good movie to kind of transition us back into going into theaters, because it's maybe a movie that I think more diehard movie fans and comic book movie fans are going to go see. I'm a fan of The New Mutants. I love the concept of it. What I really liked about this particular arc too that they were going with one of the earliest arcs in the New Mutants storyline. So I kind of understood that, and especially with the more recent trailers, they really showed that.
Let me ask you: does the IMDb quick small description go in line with that, saying 5 young mutants just discovering their abilities while held in a secret facility against their will fight to escape their past sins and save themselves?
That does tie in very. That's a fair explanation of it. There's a little more in depth as comic wise. The thing that made this movie enjoyable, and you can say what you will about the script and certain things like that, was the cast of this nailed the characters so well. They looked the part, they came across that way, and I even think they actually projected the powers of the New Mutants very well on screen. But that's also where the downer of this comes, because there's going to be nothing that comes from this film. The Disney is already in the reset mode, and it's really a shame, because I think they really got the spirit of the New Mutants correct in this. Yes, there would have been characters I think they could have added if they were going to do a second New Mutants film, and obviously with the X-Men rights now all with Disney, who knows what's going to happen there. But I think especially Anna Taylor-Joy, who played Illyana Rasputin, she had the look of it nailed. I know there's some controversy about some of the things she said regarding the character of Danny Moonstar Mirage, with some of the inappropriate things she said about her heritage, because in the Danny Moonstar is Native American, and there's some lines in there where she calls her Pocahontas and a few other things.
Okay, hold on. For the people that don't understand the comic, have never read the comic though, will people like myself enjoy seeing a different set of mutants than we're normally accustomed to, like X-Men? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so, because I think you're going to be able to watch this and not feel like you have to be connected to the X-Men universe to understand what's going on.
But it is connected.
It is connected to some of the stuff that they had done and towards like the end of the current run of X-Men films and the Logan film and some things like that. But it's not anything where if you haven't seen those, you're going to go, oh, what's going on? This can be a standalone movie.
Question: Alice Braga played Dr. Reyes. How was she?
Yes. She was very good in this. She's kind of all shades of gray in this. And I know you're a fan of her from Queen of the South.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So she actually plays an established X-Men character by the name of Dr. Cecilia Reyes, who has her own mutant power as well.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Like I said, it plays up on the powers very correctly. And I'm just going to kind of a little bit of a spoiler alert here. As far as the horror angle that a lot of people have been complaining about.
The horror angle.
Yeah. It's they're dealing with the aspect of one of the mutants' powers. The character of Danny Moonstar, she has a psychic ability to manifest people's fears into reality. And she can't, at this point in the movie, she can't fully control it yet.
So how would she manifest my fear of losing all physical media?
You would turn around and that whole wall behind you would be gone.
No. So okay, I gotta say, go ahead.
It actually wouldn't be that though. What would happen is there would be a clown standing next to you right now.
So, you mean Patrick Mahomes? That would scare me. Yes. Okay. Question. Okay, so you kind of sold me on wanting to see this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in a hurry to go see it. Right now, though, if it was showing in the theater, I'd probably go just to get into the freaking theater.
Yeah.
But where would it stand with you with buy it, stream it, or unsee it?
I think for the average person, it's a stream it. I think if you're a comic book fan or a fan of the New Mutants, it's a buy it. But I think that you have to take it. But the fact that we know it's not going anywhere makes it a little hard for me to justify people spending the money to buy it.
Okay, question on that then. Do you think that because in the day of COVID right now, and they're pushing it into the theater because of contract negotiations and agreements, do you think this will hit video on demand pretty soon then?
I would suspect. I wouldn't be surprised by Halloween it's not available on demand.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or on iTunes.
I depending on what it is, I may do that, but we'll see. So I'm
yeah, no, I think for the average person, it's definitely worth a stream it, rental, whatever you want to call it. For me, I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna buy it. I liked how they portrayed the characters. I had fun with it.
Did they have an after credit scene?
No, they didn't, because obviously it's not tying in with anything. But they did something very cool with the credits. They got one of the original artists from New Mutants to draw the characters. And cool. How they look. So that was a very cool thing. But
Are Kevin, you happy with this not having a sequel and being kind of a one and done?
I would really like to see this cast get another chance to revisit these characters, because okay. I think without the controversy, with a little bit better directing and better writing, they could really go far with this cast in these roles. I think that's where the strong point of this movie is. It's the cast and how they fit it so well into the characters that they were cast into. So,
well, the director was Josh Boone. He has recently done the Fault in Our Stars. He was the director, and he also has been writing parts of The Stand. So
yeah.
he has a hand in that. So yeah, there you go.
Now, Kevin, before we get to the next two films, I have to ask you, what did you do to yourself
What are you talking about?
watching these two particular films?
I see where you're going with that. Okay. First of all, have you seen these two?
I have not, and to be honest
Okay.
with you, I've seen the trailers. I have no desire to see either of these films. I'm more
Okay.
curious about one than the other, though. Let me put it that way.
Okay. The first film that I'm going to talk about is Rogue, the brand new film that has come out starring Megan Fox. And we got a teaser trailer a few weeks ago, and the trailer looked. She's basically the leader of these mercenaries doing a job they're being paid for, and the trailer really kind of teases a lot of that. She's got a rifle, she kicks some butt, you see her team doing some stuff, and so if you're going to go by the IMDb description here, it says Megan Fox tackles a thrilling new role as a battle-hardened mercenary in this explosive action saga. As team leader O'Hara, she leads a lively squad of soldiers on a daring mission, rescuing hostages from their captors in remote Africa. But as the mission goes awry and the team is stranded, O'Hara's squad must face a bloody, brutal encounter with a gang of rebels and a horde of ravenous, enraged lions they encounter. So hold on. I'm going to get a little spoilerific here because I'm just going to tip my hat right now. Skip, avoid this movie.
I could have told you that when we first watched the trailer.
I was curious, and I need to be that guy to watch it so no one else has to.
Zach Morris, time out. You were curious other than how Megan Fox's clothing was fitting on her during this movie, Kevin.
No, I was curious how Megan Fox was going to do in an action movie. I'll be honest with you. Because as much as we remember her in Transformers, yes, that was action-y, but she wasn't the lead, and she was always kind of like the girl in distress. I was genuinely curious to see, because the trailer didn't really show you that she was going to be dressing skimpy or anything like that. So I wasn't expecting that, and you don't get that. You do get her, and she's not a great actress, but what's funny is she wasn't the problem of this film, Kyle.
Oh, no. The fact that Machine Gun Kelly was in this film tells you all you need to know about promises.
No, that's not the problem. This movie, okay, so this movie is she's rescuing, she's going to this place to rescue someone that is being held by these human traffickers who are also, and this is where they try to send a message to you of what's happening in Africa, because apparently it's not illegal to capture lions and skin them
Correct.
for their skins and stuff
Correct.
like that. So they come across one of those places. They find these girls, they try to rescue them, but their helicopter gets blown away, and they have to like jump off a cliff into a river. And then of course lions are starting to hunt them, as well as these evil guys. But the CG lions in this movie, Kyle, are the most horrendous CG I have seen since the first days of CG. They are so bad, I just could not get past it. And when I was looking at the reviews, everyone was talking about how bad it was, of course, and then mentioning, her acting, and the plot was very predictable, of course, like that. But oh my God, it is just absolutely horrible. The director, MJ Bassett, a woman director, she's actually has a lot of experience directing action. She's done Strike Back, the TV series. She did Solomon Kane, Ash vs. Evil Dead. She did Power, Iron Fist, Taken TV series, Halo that's filming right now. So she's got her hands in all this. But the movie, skip it.
This is 5 minutes of my life and all of our viewers and listeners' lives they will never get back. So thank you, Kevin Reitzel.
I had to explain why it was bad. Okay, that's what we do. Did you
Megan
just really
Fox-
want me to say, "Oh yeah, Rogue"? Just skip it.
Yeah,
you wanna know
pretty
why?
much.
No.
No, I think if somebody saw the trailer, they'd pretty much figure out why. But I am actually more curious. I do have curiosity about the other movie you watched, The Tax Collector with one Shia LaBeouf. Do you have like a Transformers theme going on with your movies this week?
That wasn't my plan, but when I saw this trailer online, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Shia LaBeouf. Okay, so it's directed by David Ayer, who Shia has worked with before in the movie
Suicide Squad. too.
Suicide Squad. He directed Suicide Squad, but he worked with David Ayer in Fury, the
Yes.
the
Mhm.
World War II tank movie.
Actually, a very
Brad
good
Pitt.
movie.
Yes, and also David Ayer is very. People know him from the stuff he's directed, like Sabotage, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He did Fury. He did Bright. What else has he done? Street Kings as well. And he's worked on a lot of writing as well. But this movie takes place in the same world and around the kind of same time as like Training Day and stuff like that, because gangs that were mentioned in Training Day were also mentioned in this. And Shia LaBeouf basically is the right-hand man to a local Latino mobster gang, basically. And they go around collecting money, payola from people that owe them money and protection and stuff like that. Shia, I got to say, looked badass in this. He was scary.
He got those tattoos for real.
Yes, he got real tattoos on his chest, which is interesting because you barely see them in the film, but he got real tattoos on his chest for this film. And Jimmy Smits has a very small cameo in it. He plays the father figure that still runs the whole thing but behind the scenes in jail. But Bobby Soto is the main lead in this. He is the crime lord that is friends with Shia LaBeouf in this. He's also was in Narcos and SWAT and a bunch of other stuff. This movie was very depressing. It was very violent, very gritty. I don't know if I can watch it again, but I got to tell you, I was impressed with Shia LaBeouf in this, and I'm rooting for him. I want to see him in more stuff. He just does weird stuff, but he was really good in this.
So
I'm gonna
recommending.
I'm gonna say stream it. If you're curious, check him out. But make sure if you want a feel good film, this is not it.
Well, let's get on to something more fun, because I think it's time to play 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, Kevin.
6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
So, without further ado, it's buy it, stream it, or unsee it edition of Kevin's Thrift Store Theater.
Kevin's Thrift Store Theater. Kyle, what is Kevin's Thrift Store Theater? This is where I go to the thrift store. I pick up a DVD, usually very cheap, between $1, $2, $3, and I usually try and pick up some DVDs I've never seen before. And I call them thrift store rentals because I may return them back to the thrift store. So there's 3 categories this movie will fall under. Either keep it, it'll be added to my illustrious physical media empire behind me, or it's going to be on the bubble. It'll hang around for a little while to see if I want to watch it again. Then I'll decide what's going to happen, or it's going to go directly to the back to the thrift store, thus the thrift store rental. And I picked up a 1986 film starring Kevin Bacon that he did right after Footloose, which is a huge hit for him, called Quicksilver. I'm going to put that up there right there for the people that can see. I'm covering something, and I'll explain what that is in a moment. But this is basically what he does right after, this huge hit that is, of course, Footloose. And it wasn't received very well, because what he is he's playing a kind of, in the beginning of the film, he's playing someone who's supposed to be very successful in the stock market. He's wearing this really bad wig, by the way, and these 3-piece suits. He makes the wrong investment. He loses his money. He loses his job, or I think he quits, whatever. And so then he decides to become a bike messenger in a very busy metropolis street. They don't say what it is, even though there's scenes that were filmed in LA and in San Francisco. Then there was some stuff on a soundstage. But I was also very curious, this for a very particular reason, because it stars one of my 80s movie crushes, Kyle, and that is Jamie Gertz. She was in this. She was one of the fellow bicycle messengers, and everyone's using those 10 speeds, not like mountain bikes like they do nowadays. But Paul Rodriguez was in this. Lawrence Fishburne, one of his early roles, he was in this. Louis Anderson was in this. So interesting cast here. And it was interesting to see that kind of thing that was happening with bike messengers back in the day and how competitive that it is. And that's how a lot of places communicated and sent important documents. So these people were, and still are in some cases, very vital to the communication of businesses back in the 80s and how things went. So I was very curious. I checked it out. I really did enjoy their performances. Jamie Gertz kind of plays the girl who keeps kind of lying about her past, and he's trying to figure that out. And there's a local kind of drug dealer, gun guy who's trying to run the streets and trying to recruit some of these bicyclists for his own nefarious reasons. And it was fun. It was entertaining. But you know what, Kyle?
On the bubble?
No, it's going back to the thrift store. It was a fun rental. I enjoyed it, but I don't need to see it again as much as I enjoyed Jamie Gertz.
Well, and just for everybody out there, if you want a more modern version of Quicksilver, go rent the early 2000s movie Premium. Probably actually maybe even closer to 2010, Premium Rush with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes, yeah, that gives
which
you a
is
little
actually
more updated.
And it's fun. It's got some fun to it.
I did enjoy that, but that may fall under the same category as this one. Is I'm one and done with that one. So yeah.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back and give some remembrance to a very talented and special man. And all I got to say is Wakanda forever.
Thank you for listening. We hope you're enjoying this podcast. We like to continue to feed your ears by inviting you to listen to the Fandom Podcast Network and all of the other awesome shows we have to offer. It starts with our flagship show, Culture Clash, our weekly pop culture news podcast. Blood Kings, our Highlander podcast. Couch Potato Theater, our podcast celebrating our favorite movies. Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback podcast discussing a year in movies and our favorite pop culture topics. End Zone, the NFL podcast. Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast. Union Federation, our Star Trek and Orville podcast. Hair Metal, the 80s and early 90s rock metal podcast. Type 40, our Doctor Who podcast. Lethal Mullet, a 1980s and 90s action film podcast. What a Piece of Junk, a Star Wars podcast. And our newest show, Making Treks, a new Star Trek podcast with a deep dive into the final frontier with host Mark Newbold and Adam P. O'Brien. You can enjoy all of these great Fandom Podcast Network shows on our master feed at fpnet.podbean.com. Fandom Podcast Network is also on Apple Podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also find us on Facebook under Fandom Podcast Network. You can also email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter under Fandom Podcast Network. Thank you for listening, and remember, respect others and enjoy your fandom.
As during the break, Kevin gave us previews of what might be coming next in Kevin's Thrift Store Theater.
No, I had stuff, that was around, but this will be coming up on Couch Potato Theater soon. I'm going to tease the YouTube audience there. Real Genius with Val Kilmer. So we'll be doing that on a future Couch Potato Theater. And by the way, Jen sent me a picture of her VHS copy of The Stand. I thought that was pretty cool.
Just remember, everybody wants to rule the world.
Yes.
So we talked about it at the top of the show. Friday was a weird day, and it was kind of a weird weekend. We got the news late Friday night that Chadwick Boseman passed away at the age of way too young age of 43. as we all, I think, were in shock that to find out he had been fighting stage 4 colon cancer for the last 4 years, Kevin.
Yeah, he kept his secret, I guess, just with his friends and loved ones. And, there was a video, we were talking about this offline, that came out in April of him doing an interview or something, and he looked very thin. He didn't look well, but we kind of just wrote it off that maybe it was for a role because, actors do that.
Yeah,
I
want to bring that point up just real quick. I'm hoping that maybe that what happened with that, and now with this tragedy, I hope that's something that maybe these actors in Hollywood address. Those weight swings are not healthy.
Yeah.
And when you start seeing somebody like what Tom Hanks put himself through for Castaway, and you start seeing that, especially in the days of social media, people might need to realize and question, is he okay? Or is she okay? Or what's going on? And maybe this is going to be a point where I just think that there's giving to a role, and then there's giving too much to a role. And I know there was a lot of stuff with Chadwick about some body shaming and stuff like that going on. And I just remember the first time I saw it, I was like, is he okay? I mean, that was my thought. Is like, that's, even for a role, that's awful gaunt looking.
Yeah. It's interesting what, people will go through for parts, but, obviously he was dealing with something he's been fighting with for a while he was being the Black Panther in the MCU.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, the movies he filmed while he was sick include Civil War, Message from the King, Marshall, Black Panther, Infinity War, Endgame, 21 Bridges, The Five Bloods, and then what will be, my understanding, it will be the last thing he's got coming out, a Netflix series movie, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is completed and will be coming out on Netflix. He filmed all that with stage 4 cancer, Kevin.
Yeah, he has something on IMDb called Yasuke in pre-production. I don't know what's going to become with that due to his passing. But yeah, he's I remember him in 42 where he played Jackie Robinson, because I'm a Dodger fan myself, and Jackie Robinson, of course, is a legend. And ironically, he passed away on Jackie Robinson Day. That was mentioned. And then I remember him as Vontae Mack in Draft Day with Kevin Costner, which I love watching. And then he did a great job playing James Brown in Get On Up. But you brought Message to a King to my attention, Kyle, and I just want to give that movie a quick shout out here. This was, I think, a Netflix original here, and a mysterious outsider from South Africa named Jacob King arrives in Los Angeles to look for his missing younger sister. And this movie was really good. It was very gritty, and you really don't understand who he is until later. But you understand how powerful and resourceful he is without having to use a gun at first. A very powerful performance, and when you recommended that, I was like, okay, I got to go check this out, and I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the movie he did, 21 Bridges. That was an excellent film. But I'm gonna be honest, when we got that news on Friday night, it hit me hard. I haven't been hit this hard by an actor passing away, Kevin, since Brandon Lee got killed in the horrific accident on the Crow film. And it's just something different. And I think for me with Chadwick, it was this. Every time I saw Chadwick Boseman, no matter what interview it was, no matter if it was something on social media, something like that, he was always so respectful to the people around him, to the fans, to everybody. And to watch him perform on screen, I'm going to say this now. Chadwick Boseman was going to go, he already is, in my opinion, in history, just a run he had of films and just a short amount of time, but he was going to go down as one of the greatest actors of all time.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Obviously, he was Black Panther, but when you look at his body of work, he was an excellent actor. When you've been seeing a lot of videos of him at award ceremonies, and he's very well spoken and he's very passionate. I know he's been great to the fans, But what's interesting is the amount of love that he's received from his co-stars, specifically too from the MCU. It's been outstanding and wonderful, and it's it's just so weird that all of a sudden he's just gone. I mean, we've had actors and actresses pass away like that. Whether it was in a car accident or some other thing with their health, and it's I we had no idea. He kept it a secret.
Yeah, and to do such physical performance, because he did a lot of his own stunts as well.
Yeah.
And you don't hear about. I don't know how he hit it, because Chris Evans has spoken very highly of him. Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, everybody in the MCU has spoken so highly of him. I mean, obviously the cast from Black Panther and the family that cast has become, because Black Panther is something so amazingly special outside of the MCU. And it's just a movie. It resonated with everybody in one form or another, and in a positive way. Michael B. Jordan finally put out a statement yesterday after saying I couldn't even speak about it without losing it. But I want to read, Kevin, what Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther, put out.
I was going to ask you about that. Yes.
Yeah. This is what Coogler wrote. I inherited Marvel and the Russo brothers' casting choice of T'Challa. It was something that I will forever be grateful for. The first time I saw Chad's performance as T'Challa, it was in an unfinished cut of Captain America: Civil War. I was deciding whether or not directing Black Panther was the right choice for me. I'll never forget sitting in an editorial suite on the Disney lot and watching his scenes. His first with Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, then with the South African cinema titan John Kani as T'Challa's father, King T'Chaka. It was at that moment I knew I wanted to make this movie. After Scarlett's character leaves them, Chad and John begin conversing in a language I had never heard before. It sounded familiar, full of the same clicks and smacks that young Black children would make in the States. The same clicks that we would often be chided for being disrespectful or improper, but it had a musicality to it that felt ancient, powerful, and African. In my meetings after the film, I asked Nate Moore, one of the producers of the film, about the language. Did you guys make it up? Nate replied, and I'm sorry if I pronounced this wrong, Xhosa, John Kani's native language. He and Chad decided to do the scene like that on set, and we rolled with it. I thought to myself, he just learned lines in another language that day. I couldn't conceive how difficult that must have been. And even though I hadn't met Chad, I was already in awe of his capacity as an actor. I learned later that there was much conversation over how T'Challa would sound in the film. The decision to have Xhosa be the official language of Wakanda was solidified by Chad, a native of South Carolina, because he was able to learn his lines in Xhosa there on the spot. He also advocated for his characters to speak with an African accent so that he could present T'Challa to audiences as an African king whose dialect had not been conquered by the West. I finally met Chad in person in early 2016, once I signed onto the film. He snuck past journalists that were congregated for a press junket I was doing for Creed and met me in the green room. We talked about our lives, my time playing football in college, and his time at Howard studying to be a director, and about our collective version for T'Challa and Wakanda. We spoke about the irony of how his former Howard classmate, Ta-Nehisi Coates, was writing T'Challa's current arc with Marvel Comics, and how Chad knew Howard student Prince Jones, who was murdered by a police officer, inspired Coates' memoir, Between the World and Me. I noticed that Chad was an anomaly. He was calm, assured, constantly studying, but also kind, comforting, and had the warmest laugh in the world and eyes that seen much beyond his years, but could still sparkle like a child seeing something for the first time. That was the first of many conversations. He was a special person. He would often speak about heritage and what it means to be African. When prepping for the film, he would ponder every decision, every choice, not just for how it would reflect on himself, but how those choices would reverberate. They're not ready for this, what we are doing. This is Star Wars. This is the Lord of the Rings, but for us and bigger, he would say to me while we were struggling to finish a dramatic scene, stretching into double overtime, or while he was covered in body paint doing his own stunts or crashing into frigid water and foam landing pads. I would nod and smile, but I didn't believe him. I had no idea if the film would work. I wasn't sure I knew what I was doing, but I looked back and realized that Chad knew something we all didn't. He was playing the long game, all while putting in the work, and work he did. He would come to to auditions for supporting roles, which is not common for lead actors in big budget movies. He was there for several M'Baku auditions in Winston Dukes. In Winston Dukes, he turned a chemistry read into a wrestling match. Winston broke his, forgive me, it's skipping around on me here. Winston broke his bracelet during the match. In Letitia Wright's audition for Suri, she pierced his royal poise with her signature humor and would bring about a smile to T'Challa's face that was 100% Chad. While filming the movie, we would meet at an office or at my rental home in Atlanta to discuss lines and different ways to add depth to each scene. We talked costumes, military practices. He said to me, Wakandans have it to dance during the coronation. If they just stand there with spears, what separates them from the Romans? In early drafts of the script, Eric Killmonger's character would ask T'Challa to be buried in Wakanda. Chad challenged that and asked what if Killmonger asked to be buried somewhere else. Chad deeply valued his privacy, and I wasn't privy to the details of his illness. After his family released their statement, I realized he was living with this illness the entire time I knew him. Because he was a caretaker, a leader, and a man of faith, dignity, and pride, he shielded his collaborators from his suffering. He lived a beautiful life, and he made great art, day after day, year after year. That was who he was. He was an epic fireworks display. I will tell stories about being there for some of the brilliant sparks till the end of my days. What an incredible mark he's left for us. He goes on, but I mean, that's just the powerfulness of saying it. Ryan Coogler did not know how sick Chadwick Boseman really was.
Wow. I did want to mention two comments in the chat here. Robert McGregor says that he's seen Chadwick in a few different things, but he never knew who he was until Black Panther. As a comic geek and Marvel fan, he absolutely embodied the character. I saw the movie 3 times at the cinema. And Carl Nordstrom, he's in the chat, and the way that he made his point here about how we're feeling, I think is spot on. He says, I also believe that is because it's a surprise. Let me start over. I also believe that because it was a surprise, it hurt even more. If we saw it coming, it would have been very sad, but it felt like a sniper shot.
Yeah. I just want to, Letitia Wright, who played Suri, the only thing she posted was, this hurts, really hurts.
Yeah.
You could see the kind of special relationship she had with him in the film, and it replayed in a lot of the times when the cast was together doing things. And if this says nothing else about the man, and there's so much I'm going to say on this in a few minutes, his final official tweet on his Twitter has been the most retweeted tweet in history.
Yeah, someone obviously that tweeted it for him.
Yeah.
7.6 million tweets saying, and it's a great picture of Chadwick smiling. It is with our immeasurable grief that we will confirm that the passing of Chadwick Boseman. He was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2016 and battled it for the last 4 years as it progressed to stage 4. A true fighter, Chadwick persevered through it all, and brought many of his films you have come to love so much, from Marshall to Da 5 Bloods, August Wilson's, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and several more. All were filmed during and between countless surgeries and chemotherapy. It was the honor of his career to bring T'Challa to life as Black Panther. He died in his home with his wife and family by his side.
I think for me, what hurts with this is, again, the historical characters he played with such dignity and such reverence that he played those characters with. We're not talking about minor historical characters. We're talking about Jackie Robinson. Yeah. We're talking about James Brown. We're talking about Thurgood Marshall. Yeah. Those are major people in history. And he played them all beautifully. Then to take a character like the Black Panther, to be honest, not known to the general public. That character was not known to the general public.
And the first Marvel film to be nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
You know?
And to make it something that is beyond the MCU. To make it something that became something that went beyond race, went beyond so many things. And you see these videos of him. There's a great one from, I believe it was The Tonight Show, where they had a poster of the Black Panther and people were coming up and talking, leaving messages, thinking they were leaving messages for Chadwick Boseman and the cast, just saying thank you. And then he would pop out from behind there, and just the joy and what was even amazing is when he came out, he was talking with the accent that he used as T'Challa. He wasn't talking like Chadwick Boseman. He was portraying that character. And when you talk about Chadwick, from what I've seen and what I've read about him, and just the fact, when a celebrity passes or somebody of unknown nature passes, everybody puts out well wishes, things like that. But these feel different. I mean, these all feel so much from the heart, not just somebody taking the time to just feel a message. You can just feel that in these.
You get a little
messages.
tease with that, with the article that you mentioned here, Kyle, of the Avenger actors that lead tributes to him, and a lot of them chimed in with wonderful pictures with them. Angela Bassett, obviously, she was there. Brie Larson, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans as well. Who else do we got here? Samuel Jackson, Mark Ruffalo, Viola Davis, Ryan Reynolds. I mean, it just goes on and on. I think Carl said it best. It hit us like a sniper bullet, just
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it says so much about the man. He showed up to work every day. You never heard anybody. Obviously, he never complained. He was there. He was living his life while suffering through a horrendous illness. And I know almost everybody out there has been affected by cancer in one form or another. I have. We all have. But I mean, the cancer he had is one of the worst ones you could have, and to do that. And I think for me, when I think of Chadwick Boseman, I mean, I think of what he did, taking a fictional character and making it a worldwide phenomenon for people to respect and be proud of. But I take even more as from the man, and that's where I feel this loss, and I feel this because, especially with the way the world is today, a man who carried himself with such dignity, with such class, and treated people so respectfully, and had earned the respect of everybody he had worked with. I mean, we can only hope to live up to that example that he set in his short time with us, Kevin.
Yeah, Sean Dempsey is in the chat, and he understands this all too well. He says, "I understand his privacy, as my wife was just as secretive about her cancer during the same time. She worked until the very end, like my wife. He spent his final years living the way he wanted to." And then Sean goes on to say, "Doing his best work and being judged by his art and his body of work, and not letting the cancer define him." Well said, Sean. Well said.
And I want to talk to you about some of the great stories that have come out about Chadwick Boseman in this time. The Denzel Washington story. The fact that here he is, a student at Howard, Felicia Rashad basically being his teacher or mentoring him, getting accepted to this overseas in the UK program, not being able to afford to go, along with several other actors from Howard, and Denzel Washington stepping up and paying for these students to go. And then, of course, several years later, coming up to Chadwick saying, "I'm here to collect my money back."
Yeah. Of all of the roles, what would you say, other than Black Panther, because that's his defining role, that really rings with your fandom? What was one of his roles that you just
there's two others besides Black, if you're going to take out, because I think Black Panther is just on a level that's all on its own. His portrayal of Jackie Robinson in 42 is brilliant. And the Message from the King, he was phenomenal in that. And I think that was the movie that really solidified me, because I saw that after Black Panther had come out, and it just this is special. This man is a special actor. And then learning more from him as he did the tours for Black Panther, and everything he did just phenomenal. I mean, and that's one of the things about the MCU. All the actors, they really do special things. They know their importance as these characters and what they mean, especially to children. And I think that was something I thought about a lot after we had found out the news, is how is this going to impact so many children? And we've seen it with so many images of kids, and it's not set up by the parents or anything. Kids taking their action figures and having a funeral for the Black Panther.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of those different types of pics on social media. I mean, how profound is that?
Yeah, it's tough to speculate on, but yeah, I mean, this has obviously hit everyone very hard, and social media has obviously been very vocal about this because we're all hurting. You know, one of our favorites is gone, and it's a lot of social media. A lot of there's been a lot of reactions to whether or not. And Kyle, when we first heard about this, you told me, you says, I don't think that they can recast Black Panther. I just don't think they can.
Well,
And
and
the
that's, I think,
feeling I
the
was
initial
getting was
shock.
that from you, yeah, initial shock that maybe they shouldn't. And a lot of people have gone to social meetings saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Well, there's a lot that are also saying the character needs to live on, you know. And I put a post on Facebook about a lot of people going to social media saying don't do it. A lot of people are asking for, you know, I think it's in South Carolina where he's from. They want to take down a statue that obviously means something else to a bunch of people, and they want to put you know, his there instead. And but you know, and the post that I did, a lot of people were saying, you know, don't do it, don't do it. Some people were saying, well, you need to honor this character that he has started, you know. And I put it out there. I said, it's hard to speculate, but I must ask, do you guys think Chadwick would want someone else to pick up the Black Panther mantle and continue the character's legacy in the MCU? And I got a reply saying, yes. A lot of people are saying his sister's character, maybe her sister could do it, because I think that was done in the comics. She was
Yes, that
Black
was
Panther
in
for a
the
while, you know.
yes.
And someone had made a comment too. I want to mention here, my friend Aunt Alien Allen said, of course he would do that. Jason Benyon says, given the importance of the character to Black children, absolutely Chadwick would want someone else to carry it on. My friend Lisa said, absolutely. But you don't have to recast T'Challa to have Black Panther. Shuri was Black Panther in the comics for a time. That would be great, actually. And she would be an amazing hero and role model, not just for children of color, but for girls of color. So, yeah, I mean, that's the question that's out there, Kyle. And so we were thinking, you know, well, let's start the discussion and this to the chat as well. Who do you think? What do you think should happen? Do you think that they should go to someone that's already established, taking on that Black Panther role and that leadership? Because he is supposed to. He was supposed to have a serious foothold in the next phase of the MCU. Black Panther
Absolutely.
2 was going to be made. He was going to be one of the leaders, and so to just write him out, to just kind of say, no, let's just concentrate on other people, I don't think that's a good idea, in my personal opinion. I think you need to honor that character. Killing him off in the movie thing, obviously people have talked about that. I don't think you should do that. Just writing him off, you know, letting him, or writing around him, was in other people's thoughts, you know, as they concentrate on other people. But I think, Kyle, that they should find someone and recast him, because I think that's what, personally, just speaking for myself, I think that's what Chadwick would want. We have an idea of an actor or two that we think that could do that. But Kyle, what do you think?
Okay, so let me get some thoughts out here, and I want to first off start with, in a way, what is irony, and it's irony, and it almost feels like it's a dark comedy. Marvel Comics has a massive crossover event going on right now called Empire, and in the 5th issue, which came out last week, the Black Panther was killed. Now, it's a comic book story that can last one issue and he's brought back to life, or it's a swerve or anything like that. But you look at you just look at this and go, like, wow, and it's something not a lot of people have brought up, but it is something that did happen. As far as recasting or having Shuri become the Black Panther, I'm gonna be honest with you right now where my mindset is at. I don't know if now is necessarily the 100% time to talk about this, but my feeling is this: I trust in Kevin Feige. I trust also that,
And Ryan Coogler.
well, that's what I was gonna say, is that I think Ryan Coogler is going to be heavily involved in this decision if he decides to stay with Black Panther.
Right.
That's a whole other thing, and I think that's going to be down the line whether that decision is made. But I believe Ryan Coogler will continue on with the franchise because I think he'll feel obligated to do so, and he'll want to do so in Chadwick's memory. He'll want to make sure the next thing that involves whatever it will be with Black Panther will be true to Chadwick and honorable. I do think if they choose to recast the role, that not only will Kevin Feige and Ryan Coogler have a lot of input, I truly do believe the cast of Black Panther will have a lot of input into that as well. But I'm talking about Letitia Wright. I'm talking about Martin Freeman. I'm talking about Winston Duke. I'm talking about Angela Bassett. I think they're all it's going to be a family decision.
That's exactly what happened with The Crow. The family got together to decide whether or not Brandon, they should finish The Crow, and they knew that Brandon would want that, and they wanted to also honor him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a family decision. I think they will consult Chadwick's family on this as well. As far as Shuri taking over the role, yes, that is what happened in the comics, and I would be for that if they can do it.
She was great. She was just fantastic.
She was great, but my one back to that is that character is so strong on her own anyway. I would hate to lose some of the stuff that makes her character so strong for her to take over the Black Panther role. Right. And there's nothing against that idea, because I'm all for that idea if that's the direction they go in. I'm looking at it from a couple of things. As far as recasting, truthfully, I can't think of an actor right now that just pops into my head and goes, oh, that's perfect. The one name that has run through my head is James David Washington, Denzel Washington's son, who is going to be the lead in Tenet.
Yes, but lead in Tenet, Black Klansman. Yeah, great actor.
I don't know, and I mean, it doesn't feel right to even be discussing it right now as far as that goes. But I know it's a discussion that people are having, and I think people are having it not out of disrespect, but because they just need to talk about it.
That's what we're doing here. Yes, it's weird, but it's something that is worth the discussion.
So I mean, I don't think there's going to be a wrong answer, because again, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a decision that's done by a unit of everybody who's involved with Black Panther. And it's going to be it's not going to be a decision they take lightly. Oh yeah, that is for sure. Yeah. And you also have to think, it's walking into shoes that are unfillable. It really is. And it's not, no matter whether it's writing in Shuri as the Black Panther or bringing in another actor or something, nobody can fill those shoes to that extent. And so they have to be able to make it their own.
Yeah, no, this is true. You're right. They will have to make it their own. And I have faith that if they decide to go in that direction, I think someone could.
Yeah. So yeah. And I think, Marvel has too much invested in the character of the Black Panther. And I think they have plans for the Shuri character. I think they've had plans for the Shuri character. Now, again, the board's changing. And luckily, Marvel has time. I mean, they could hold off on Black Panther 2 and push it to a later date and make it incorporated into another phase of the Marvel universe. It's not even been written yet. Ryan Coogler had just said, I had just started thinking about what words I was going to have Chadwick say.
Right.
So it's again, I'm going to feel confident with whatever decision they make.
Do you remember what was coming next in, like, where did Black Panther tentatively was scheduled in the next MCU phase? What do we have coming out first?
Okay, so right now the next thing in the MCU will actually be the Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus.
Right.
Then we will have, actually Black Widow, and then the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
That's right. Black Widow.
Then we will have the Eternals.
But wasn't wasn't he supposed to be in one of those, like
No,
briefly? No.
he was not going to make another appearance until Black Panther 2.
Okay, so the Eternals were supposed to be coming out. What else?
Then you were going to have the Loki Disney Plus, or no, then you were going to have the WandaVision Disney Plus series,
Okay,
which was going to lead into the second Doctor Strange film. We were also going to have the Loki series. We were also
Right.
going to have Master of Kung Fu.
right.
And then we were also going to, it looks like we were going to get a Hawkeye series on Disney Plus, a Moon Knight series on Disney Plus, and a She-Hulk series on Disney Plus that Mark Ruffalo himself might be involved in. Black Panther was supposed to be like the end of the phase.
Okay, so we have a lot of pots being stirred here
Mhm.
that we could alter if whatever decision they decide to make, whether it is writing around him, his character, because you need Wakanda, obviously. But so there is room to alter stories and characters, character directions to
you
head
could
into the next phases. Then
you could very easily work in Wakanda and these other characters until you felt ready to do Black Panther 2.
yeah,
They can
that's
make appearances.
that's an excellent idea, or excellent thought. I like that. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they have that.
give it time to just kind of settle and figure out where they want to go. They don't need to make these decisions right now. I mean, let's honor this man for a while. He deserves it. Let's watch his movies. Let's as Sean said, let's look at what defines him, not what took him from us.
Yeah. And as far as Shuri goes, had already been talk of doing something with that character and maybe giving her own Disney Plus series.
Oh, I would love that. She's just awesome.
She's incredibly popular. Obviously Okoye played by the wonderful Diana. I can never pronounce her last name, so but
Denai, yes, from Lethal Weapon, yes,
but not Lethal, and also
I'm sorry,
The Walking Dead. But here's an interesting thing, because she was actually planning to go. She was leaving The Walking Dead for a while, but she was planning to. It was announced she was going to return to The Walking Dead as well. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But I mean, we're just again. We're right now still all in shock, and I gotta before we go and before we wrap things up, I gotta give a lot of props to Disney and ABC for one, airing Black Panther commercial free on Sunday night, and then the wonderful 2020 1-hour tribute to Chadwick Boseman hosted by Robin Roberts, where they had so many people, Robert Downey Jr. They had
I missed that. Can we view that on YouTube somewhere? Do you know?
I don't know I think it might be on YouTube, or it's probably on demand. It's on demand for like ABC or things like that. But well,
if it's ABC, Disney owns that. Maybe they'll show it. So I'd love to see that. Okay.
It was very well done. A lot of great interviews with Chadwick. A lot of people weighing in on about Chadwick. I mean, this is something to where, I mean, there are other podcasts I listen to that are not entertainment podcasts, and they're doing episodes of Chadwick Boseman. Kevin and I listen to a lot of shows from the Ringer podcast. They actually put out re-released a I believe it was 2019 interview they did with Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is just somebody who was universally loved.
I want to put this out to the chat before we leave today, if anyone wants to chime in, but I want to ask you, Kyle, I want to go back obviously and watch some of his older stuff. I want to watch, I'll be honest with you, Kyle, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was considering doing my MCU run again because I missed it. Mm-hmm. Remember when I was doing that earlier in the year? Yeah. I really missed that world. And now I kind of want to go back and do it again, but I just want to go back and watch Black Panther or Civil War, and stuff. So, but I want to ask you though, Black Panther, what was and to the listeners too, what was name me some of your favorite scenes?
I love the whole scene where they're in Korea, when they go to hunt down
South Korea. Yes.
South Korea.
Yeah. The whole gambling stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole chase scene down through downtown.
Denai's wearing that wig that she can't stand.
That's great. I mean, I love that. I love the whole movie. I mean, I love the beginning of the film when they're like, all the, don't get distracted.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah.
There's not anything bad in the film, but and then the final battle is just beautiful. One of my favorite moments I love in that, though, doesn't even involve Chadwick. It's when Denai Gharari is fighting her love interest, and then the war rhino comes in and just stops and licks her.
Yes. I forgot about that. That is really, really cool. I love that scene in Avengers Infinity War 2 where Shuri is trying to work on getting the stone,
Yeah.
and then they have to leave, because Thanos is right outside. That was such a good thing. But yeah, there's just so many good scenes in Black Panther.
To me, though, as far as a Black Panther moment, when the portal opens at the end of Endgame and he comes walking out.
He's the first one you see, man. He comes out just strutting,
You hear Sam Wilson on your left, but then the portal opens and out comes Shuri, Okoye, and T'Challa.
Yeah.
And it's Wakanda forever, and it's
that's when fans started losing their mind in Avengers Endgame, man. Because when Chadwick comes out as T'Challa, Black Panther, he doesn't have the mask on, and what's great is they give him it felt like a good 10 seconds, which is a long time in cinematic time, of just walking through that portal and going, stuff's about to get real right now.
Yeah. And when you think about it, Kevin, I almost, in a way, think outside of maybe Captain America and Iron Man, Black Panther might be the most popular hero out of the MCU.
Yeah, I would agree. And I got to quote Murph. Murph's here. Hello, Murph. He says,
"Hey, Murph.
Yim Bombay. Yeah, you're right. I think he is. He's, I mean, he just meant so much to so many people. And it was one of those movies that everyone united over too.
I mean, if we ever needed a Black Panther movie, it's right now. I'm saying just a movie.
No, I'm sorry. I'm laughing at a line that Robert said. I think it was his sister that says, "What are those? Why do you have your toes out in my lab?" When he's wearing those sandals.
Yeah. He wanted to go a little old school, and then she gave him the sound quieting sneakers.
Yes, the sneakers. Oh God, great scene.
Those two had such a great chemistry, and you know what? Ryan Coogler said it. I do believe the scenes that he did with her, he was T'Challa, but he was just as much Chadwick in those scenes.
Yeah. They definitely felt like brother and sister in that, and those are the highlights of not just in the whole MCU, but definitely in Black Panther. And
okay,
that just
Two, I want to ask you this, and I'm going to throw this out to the listeners, everything in the chat too, Kevin. Obviously, our first exposure to the Black Panther was in Civil War.
Yes,
and a lot of people really didn't know who the Black Panther character was at that point.
Yeah,
they had an idea. You've heard of the Black Panther, but nobody had anything. What coming out of Civil War? What was your impression of the Black Panther?
Oh my gosh, I was just like, I don't know who this guy is, but I want to see more of him. And the way that he was chasing down Bucky with Captain America, and that whole chase scene was so good. What a great action scene. What a great way to make but the best thing about it though is that you see him as T'Challa first at the bombing of that speech,
United
Nations thing. You get to see him as a person first, not in the suit. And that was the best thing. That was a great intro.
Yeah. To me, it's one of the reasons why I like Civil War so much, because obviously you have Spider-Man, you have Black Panther. But that final shot of Civil War when we find out Cap has taken Bucky to Wakanda.
Yes.
And then he's like, "Oh, if they find us, let them try." And it pulls out, and you see the Panther statue, and you see kind of get a first very early glimpse of Wakanda. And everybody who I was with, because I went on first showing Civil War, just lost their minds in excitement over that concept.
When that happened, I was just like, "Oh, Wakanda, great!" But I had no idea how much technology and ahead of time and development and culture that Wakanda was, and how important it became to the MCU and the threat of Thanos.
Yeah. Well, and Okoye just wanted a Starbucks.
I know.
Maybe the Olympics.
Oh gosh, their chemistry was good too. Chadwick, we're gonna miss
Oh
you,
no,
man.
no. One of the best scenes in Civil War is when it's the Black Widow and Okoye kind of squaring off.
Yes, yeah, that was good. That was good. Murph says, loved it. First time I saw the character was when he and Storm got married.
In the
So-
comics, yes.
Yeah, it was so cool seeing him in live action, of course. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's another big thing, and just talking about the future of Black Panther as the character. With the MCU having the X-Men rights, they can play that Storm Black Panther story.
Yeah.
And so that's another reason why I don't necessarily think, I think they end up eventually going with a recast, because I think there's too many great T'Challa stories to tell.
Oh, yes, and that's what people are. I mean, yes, everyone's very emotional right now. I get it, but someone had made that point about the comics. There's just
Joe
so much.
Colton actually made a
Yeah,
point.
Joe
about
Colton, exactly, and one of my other friends who did. But yeah, there's just so much beloved history with that character that has not yet been explored. But before we think about that though, let's mourn him, and
Yeah,
let's
I mean,
let's
yeah,
let's watch his
well,
films.
yeah.
You know,
Let's remember this amazing actor, and even more importantly, this amazing man who
yeah,
I hope we can all live up to half the person he was.
agreed.
Because if
Agreed.
we can do that, the world would be such a better place.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I want to thank you, Kevin, for being here. I want to thank all of our listeners who have been watching on YouTube.
Yeah, thank you
and
guys.
everybody who's-
Appreciate you very, very much.
Everybody who's listening on the podcast. Those of you who shared what you're feeling right now, and we're going to continue to follow this and deal with it. And the conversation's always available on our Facebook page too. If you guys,
What are you going to do to show tribute to Chadwick?
I will watch Black Panther again sometime soon. I've got to get myself mentally to a point to really be. I watched some of it when it was commercial free, and I caught points that I really loved. But then there were just like, I caught the ending of it, and there was that final shot of him,
right?
And you just kind of, and I'm just going, it just kind of hits you like a ton of bricks.
I might watch Civil War. I think I might watch that because I really want to. I don't know if I'll watch it all the way till the end, but I definitely want to see his introduction, and then I think I might jump in.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen the Five Bloods yet, so I do want to see that.
Oh, that's right, I haven't either. That's there we go. We can watch that.
And I also do. I think I'm going to rewatch 21 Bridges at some point, and also go revisit Message from the King one more time.
Message from the King. Yeah, I might watch Draft Day again. Him
was
Devontae Mack, and there's that crucial scene with him and like. Watch the end of that play and see what happens. Watch the end of that play. I love that. I love that. And Murph knows what I'm talking about.
Just if you want to see some other stuff with Chadwick Boseman in it, he did an episode of ER in 2008 called Oh Brother. He was on the show Lincoln Heights for several episodes. He did an episode of the show The Glades in 2010. He did an episode of Castle, Poof, You're Dead in 2011. He was in an episode of Justified 2011 for Blood or Money, an episode of Fringe in 2011, Subject 9. He was actually in that movie Gods of Egypt.
Really?
He played Thoth in that movie.
I think I might go check out that Justified episode because I have that on digital.
And like I said, he does have one more Netflix thing that will be coming out later this year, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So,
all right.
With that, I want to thank everybody out there who's been watching and joining us in the chat. If you're listening via the podcast, thank you for listening. It's not been an easy few days, I think, for anybody. There's been a lot going on, and this just 2020 can be done. As far as I'm concerned. So, as always, be excellent to each other, and Wakanda forever. Thank you, everybody. Okay, all you out there on the live stream, thanks again for joining us. This one hit me hard, guys. So
Murph, I
appreciate
want to
that,
thank
Murph.
you. Yeah, thank you very much, Murph, for jumping on, man. I love you, brother. Appreciate it
Yep.
very, very much. Thanks, Sean. Thank
Yep,
you, everyone.
Robert, everybody.
Yep.
We will see you next time for Culture Clash Live. In the meantime, we got a lot of fun stuff coming out over the next few weeks too. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. We will see you next week.